Hey guys, thanks for returning to my channel. Um, I said I was going to talk about the middle pillar and doing some exercises, but I think I want to talk about the four elements instead. So we know that there is the black and white pillars, right? We know that the law of polarity exists. And now we need to go to the next level up, and that's the four elements of malkuth, of the material realm, of the material body, of your psyche, and that is earth, air, water, and fire. And I'm sure you guys have all seen the show The Last Airbender, or at least heard of it. And that's just how important and amazing that this information knowledge is. It's seeped into a cartoon on Nickelodeon, and yeah, it's a watered down version of the information, and it's not really that powerful or whatever, but it sparks you and they definitely give you some information. And they do get a lot of the personalities correct. But basically, what it boils down to is um, the number four is going to show up a lot in patterns, right? And what it boils down to is the four elements. And the four elements are once again the east, the south, the west, and the north. And the correspondence is the east is the air, and the south is the fire, and the west is the water, and the north is the earth. And the correspondence continues. There's 1,000 bajillion correspondences, and I'm just teaching you the basics. And each one's going to piggyback off the other one. But here we go. So then you've got air in the east corresponds to your thoughts. And anything that has to do with thoughts at all is the east. It's air. It has to do with air. So when you think thoughts, you think air. And it's really that simple. And then you have fire in the south. And that corresponds to your passion. That corresponds to your spark of interest. It corresponds to what motivates you, what gets you out of bed in the morning, what burns you, what gives you, exactly what I'm describing. You all have your own description of it, but you can feel it. You know exactly what it is, and some people don't have very much of it. Some people lack it, and they don't burn very bright. So anytime you're looking for passion, anytime you're looking about motivation, anytime you're thinking about action, any kind of movement, when you go from thinking to actually moving, that is fire. And that is the south. And then you have the west, and that is water, and that is emotions. And it's really simple. It's really symbolic. Anything that has to do with emotions is water. Water flows. Emotions are supposed to flow. Your emotions flow when you cry. Water flows from your eyes. When you don't, a lot of guys, for whatever reason, guys were raised back in the day to not express their emotions. It was considered feminine, or you were a pussy, or whatever. And the reason they were taught that is because their parents taught their parents that, and their parents taught their parents' parents that, and so on and so on and so forth. And their minds were poisoned from an early age, and so they poisoned their children's minds. But the fact of the matter is that, and it's getting better now, kind of, I guess. It probably exploded, and that's why we've got the complete other end of the spectrum now, as far as. But anyways, emotions. Guys were taught not to show their emotions, and so they just pretended they didn't exist. And so what happens is it was like a pool of water that never got to flow and continue moving, and circulating. It just stood there stagnant, and flies started collecting, and then fecal matter started collecting on the water, and then it got dirty and grimy. And long story short, their emotions, they developed emotional blockages. And when you develop an emotional blockage, it means you can't express your emotions. You can't express your flow. You can't flow your emotion, your creativity, your energy. And so you get backed up. And instead of expressing, you get depressed. You can't express yourself, so you get depressed. And you start hating the world. But what it really boils down to is you can't show any emotions, and you're projecting how you feel about yourself outwardly into the world. And most people don't realize that, but pretty much everything you experience in reality is a mirror of what you've manifested in some way, shape, or form. And yes, there are outside forces that obviously intervene in ways, shapes, and forms, some much greater than others. But when it all boils down to it, what you are choosing to think and what you are choosing to emote is breaking down into your astral, into your Yesod, into your moon. And that in turn is getting weighted down into your physical reality, your malkuth. But once again, I went off on a tangent. So anyways, that was water. Now you have the idea, or part of it, about emotions and why, guys, for the most parts, became like serial killers and bank robbers and shooting up schools and all this stuff, because they bottle up these emotions and these traumas and then this and that. And then one day it just comes to surface and it's just too much. You can't control it. And so now people obviously are realizing what you should have done from the get-go. You're supposed to express your emotions, feel yourself. It's one thing to, people say like, you're not allowed to feel your emotions, you're not allowed to express how you feel, you're not allowed to live by how you feel, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like, it's misconstrued the way it's said. It's not really meant the way they say it. What they mean is, like, if you feel sad or angry or upset, you can't let that be the driver of your actions. You can't let your water decide your fire. You can't, one of the occult secrets is that you are not your emotions and you actually produce your emotions. We don't realize that because most of the people, just like most people are really polarized, that don't do any training to become unpolarized. Most people are controlled by their emotions and they're not even aware that they're theirs. So it's really weird. It's like they're hitting themselves in the face and then they're wondering, why am I in such pain? I'm in pain all the time. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm in such pain, and they just keep punching themselves in the face. That seems weird, but it's basically means like they are allowing themselves to produce sad emotions or angry emotions or frightening emotions or any kind of negative emotion. And I know it's, when I say allowing, you got to understand, you ultimately have the ability to control your emotions. It's not something you can just do automatically when you've never been taught and you haven't practiced or whatever. But But yes, the first step is realizing that you're not your emotions. The first step is realizing that the emotions you take, that you receive, they're not you. They're what you're currently receiving, and then you decide how to act based on that. And then you get disciplined and you decide, I'm pissed off, but I'm not going to act pissed off. The next step is to realize that, okay, well, if I can be pissed off, I can also be happy, because I remember feeling happy. I remember feeling pissed off. So now every time I'm pissed off, I'm going to try and feel happy. And then once you get that down, the eventual step is to realize you never have to actually be pissed off. You can just always be happy. And so you just produce emotions of happiness always. And then that's down the line. But the point of the matter is that water is emotion. And then finally you have the north, and the north is earth. And earth is all of your material, anything material. And yes, I mean cars and money and planes and women and whatever material, but it's also the 5 material physical senses. It's also touch, sight, smell, hearing. It's all of those as well. It's anything material. And so what it boils down to is what we think about, the air, and what we express our emotions, the water. It's going to descend into the astral, being fed with the visualization of Hod and the emotion of Netzach, or Mercury and Venus, if you will. And that is going to go into the astral, and the more it's going to become imprinted in the astral. And then the more you focus on it, the more you emote on it, the more it's going to descend into the material. And so anything in the material is already decided. It's decided from the astral. It's decided when you put the emotions in the mental. And so when you are having a bad day and you say, man, I'm having such a shitty day, and then you're pissed off because you're having a shitty day, you logically in your brain are thinking, well, I'm having a shitty day, so I'm going to express that. Because we're expressive people. Because if you don't express, you become depressed. And so because you are having a shitty day, you feel like you must express that to the world to release it from yourself. And you are releasing it from yourself. You're releasing it into the universe as a statement, I'm having a shitty day. And then you're envisioning the shitty day you're having. And then you're expressing the emotions of anger. And so that is what you're projecting. That is the reality that you are expressing. And you're saying, well, no, that's not it. I don't want to have a shitty day. Well, yeah, you don't want to have a shitty day, but that's what you're expressing. You don't realize if you don't want to have a shitty day, you don't think about the shitty day you're having. You think about, man, so here's the thing. People forgot how to pretend. It's been beaten out of them as a child. Back in the day, you used to pretend all the time. And that's essentially what you have to do again. You have to envision when you didn't have a shitty day. You have to envision when you had a great day. And then you imagine that, and you think of the emotions you would have having that great day, and then you express that to the world. And then that gets out to the universe, and then that is the emotion and the visualization that will get put into the astral, and then that will come into the material. And yeah, right now you're having a shitty day, and so it sounds weird to say I'm having a great day, but that's literally what the secret is. That's the secret occult knowledge. It's don't have the emotions and the thoughts that you're currently having. You have the emotions and the thoughts that you want to have. And then the astral will make that and then bring that down into your physical reality at a later date. So when I went back to saying, oh, well, I'm just expressing my emotions, because I'm having a shitty day. You're living in a linear reality because you're in the concepts of space and time, because you're trapped in the Ouroboros, if I even said that right, the snake eating itself, of Saturn, right? But outside of that, it's all happening simultaneously. So whereas you think you're having a shitty day and then you're expressing those emotions and then you're saying them out loud, what's actually happening is you're expressing you're having a shitty day, you're saying them out loud, you're having a shitty day, you're expressing that you're having a shitty day, you're expressing those emotions, you're having a shitty day, you're saying it out loud. Like it's all happening at the same time. There is no what it came first, the chicken and the egg. That only makes sense if we're living in this linear concept that we think we live in. You have to understand that the circle is neither beginning or ending. It's once you put the two in there, it just starts moving in a circular pattern, and there is no beginning and end. It takes one to have the other, which, hey, once again goes back to the law of polarity. You know, it is not neither the chicken or the egg. The chicken is one extreme of the pole, and the egg is the other extreme. And yes, one could have happened before the other, but neither is the first or the last because it is a cycle. And it's just they both happen simultaneously. You have to throw the emotions of I'm having an amazing, wonderful, awesome day, expressing yourself having an amazing, awesome, wonderful day. And then that in turn will be sent out to the world, and then you will envision an awesome and amazing day. And then you'll find yourself in that loop where you keep thinking you're having an awesome day, and then you keep expressing your emotions and you keep saying it, when in actuality, you're in that cyclical loop again, but now you're in a different polarity. You're now vibrating at a higher frequency of abundance, whereas you were in a low frequency of scarcity, but you were just stuck in a loop of repeating it and expressing yourself. Now you're doing the same thing, but you're now in a higher state, so you're expressing positive things, and it's just the reality has caught back up to you. And so that that was a huge tangent, and that went into like the tree of life and more of like the planetary and the Sephiroth things, but that is applicable when you break down the air and then the emotion, and then that goes into the astral. The astral it's outside of our physical reality. It's right outside of it. It's the next step. And then once the astral gets imprinted, as I said, the natural progression is it gets weighted down with more emotion, more visualization, and then it just gets heavier and heavier and heavier, and then finally descends into the densest world we live in is malkuth. And then I meant to go even further than that, but I'm already 17 minutes in. But I will go ahead and state the four patterns. There is also east, you have sunset, and then you've got south, you have noon, and then you've got the west, and that's east was sunrise. South is noon, and then you have west, and that's sunset, and then you have north, and that's midnight, and that's the progression of the sun. And then you have east, which is spring, and then you have south, which is summer, and then you have west, which is autumn or fall, and then you have north, which is winter. And then you can take it. You can take it even further than that. If you go into the tree of life, there's the four different worlds of the tree of life superimposed on each other. One is the world of Asaya, and then you've got the world of Yetzirah, and then you've got the world of Bria, and then you've got the world of Atziluth. And once again, that starts as earth as Asaya, and then you've got air as Yetzirah, and then you've got water as Bria, and then you've got fire as Atziluth. And then you've got the tarot cards, and earth is pentacles, and then you've got air as swords, and then you've got the cups are water, and then you've got the wands are fire. I think I said all of them. And once again, that corresponds to fire being action and passion, and then earth being your material, and then air being your thoughts, and water being your emotions, your cups. And it makes perfect sense. Air is your swords because your air can cut you. You got to remember, air is part of Hod, and even though it has passed through the divinity and equilibrium of Tapareth, Christ, the Son consciousness, it is still part of the path of severity when you break it down to it. It is the quote unquote purest Sephiroth of the path severity, but it is still the path severity nonetheless. And thoughts can be very, very, very dangerous in the wrong hands, and that is why they can be swords. And so that is just the beginning of the 4 elements. So you learned about the 2 pillars of polarity. I never really went into the whole male and female thing. I was going to throw that on with polarity. We can go further into that when we get to magic. But the law of gender essentially is that everything has a masculine and or feminine property. Everything has a polarity, but it gets even more specific than that. You've got the sun and the moon, that's the female and the male. You've got the conscious and the unconscious, that's, once again, the female and the male. Male always is the conscious side. It's the one that's always radiating and penetrating, and then you've got the unconscious. It's the silent, still one that's always in the background, waiting for the conscious to shut up so it can show the reflection of the divine from above. But like I said, that's getting off on a tangent. So I think we're going to go into the tree of life, and we're going to start with, so everything we've been talking about right now, the 4 elementals, that is malkuth, right? When you look at malkuth, imagine a circle with an X in it, and at the bottom is black, at the top is citrine, which is like a dirty yellowish white kind of color, and then to the left is going to be olive, and to the right is going to be russet, right? And that is the 4 colors of the material world. And there's more symbolic. So everything has at least 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 correspondences. Like everything means something, but everything else means something else. And so this means that, but it also means 8 other things. So you'll soon realize that this means that, but it also means this, and that. But because it means this, everything that meant is also applied to what I just said here. So now a new connection has been made, and everything gives you this complicated arrangement of. You're basically just rebuilding your brain. But anyways, this was a really long video. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great night. Bye.